How about them Ravens? This is Corey, and this is the O The Anthem podcast.
Well, Corey's not crying, so I'm guessing they won. Good afternoon. Welcome to episode 249. I didn't write it, so it's probably somewhere close to that. Of the O The Anthem podcast, once again coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for listening on your podcatcher of choice. The easiest way, anchor.fm/O The Anthem. It's the easiest way to find the links to all the different places where you can listen to podcasts at.
And you can follow the podcast on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and make sure you follow us on Twitch, because I think that's the thing that's growing right now. I don't know. It's what I hear. I hear that Twitch is the hot new place to be. And we're there at O The Anthem. So. But you wanted to start out this episode with sports, I think.
Well, I mean, I figured with the Ravens' big win being Monday night, us waiting to start recording until after the game was over, we'd talk about it right up front, so anybody who was looking for post-game analysis, like on the live stream, could get it right away.
Absolutely. So let's see if Roberto has screwed up my drops with sports ball. Sports ball.
So the Ravens just played on Monday Night Football, beating the Browns by 5 points, 47-42.
No, wait. That math doesn't add up, though. How do you get 5 points? Because it was tied with like 1 minute to go.
Yeah, so we came back. Justin Tucker hit a huge 55-yard field goal to put the Ravens up by 3. The Browns had 2 seconds remaining, and they tried to do the hook and lateral play all the way up the field, and instead went backwards and got a safety.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So.
And a lot of disappointed Browns fans. I saw some people crying. I saw some people despondent.
Yeah.
I feel so terrible for Browns fans. I mean, like, in a way, I don't, because they're a division rival and I want to beat them, and I'd always like to win.
Also, they're 9-6. You're still ahead of us.
Yeah,
in
I mean, they're still ahead of us. But I mean, like, I feel bad sometimes because it seems like these people are completely and utterly, like, devoid of any kind of hope. It's
these
like
people, how derogatory.
It's like us Orioles fans with the Yankee game, seeing as we lost like 17 straight to them over the course of the last couple of years or something like that. Yeah. So I feel the pain, and yet I still am so happy for this team to win. I was really worried it wasn't going to go well because, like, early in the game, it just didn't look like anyone was ready to play football. Yeah. So I was worried, but turned around. It's all good. And Lamar coming in at the exact right moment to save the game at 4th and 5.
Oh my God! It's Lamar coming from the back.
And not only that, but Hollywood. I was ready to have a public tar and feathering for Hollywood Brown today. Because a couple weeks ago he said, what's the point of having soldiers if he ain't gonna use them? And I'm like, you know what? Fair point. Hollywood hasn't gotten a lot of throws recently, so why don't we give him some action? And he keeps dropping balls, but he had 4 drops tonight, and yet he had the big touchdown to help tie it up at the. Or no, go ahead by.
Yeah, that was a go ahead, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, it was a go ahead before they
tied it
again.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was a very, very fun game, especially at the end. And I'm just so happy the Ravens won, because the rest of the schedule from this point on should hopefully be filled with some easier opponents. We have the easiest schedule on paper
on the way out
in the last couple weeks here. So hopefully we can catch the Browns. Hopefully we can certainly get a playoff spot here, because I have high hopes for the Ravens. The last couple times they started the season like 5-0 or something like that. I can't remember exactly the mark. But when the last couple times they had started that way, they won Super Bowls. Yeah. And every one of those Super Bowl wins was from the wild card spot. It wasn't from winning the division. So, I mean, all the things line up to continue this trend.
Much like everything in Baltimore, you have to be the underdog. You have to be beaten. You have to, you just can't do anything the easy way. You have to do it the hard way, unfortunately. But one of the other things about the game that I saw, I asked you, because I was late, because, that's how I do. But I was late, and I was like, is it raining? Because it looks like people are slipping. And you're just like, no, field just fucking sucks.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell is going on. I argued that it's been raining in Cleveland for the better part of the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
So
decades. It's a very sad place.
What's the Cleveland parody theme or whatever, where it's just like, we get sun almost 2 times a day. Or two times a year. Yeah.
That's a good video.
Classic.
We should find a link to that. Yeah. I think it probably still exists. Yeah. But so It just, Lamar is a running quarterback. We haven't seen him run as much lately, but then it looked like he was trying to run, and then the field just wasn't letting him do it. Then he got the better cleats, and he ran.
It's funny. It's like the field didn't want him to do it, and then also at the same time, he ran for more yards than anybody else in Monday Night Football history. So, I mean, like, it worked. It also looked like he was going to – I mean, Trace McSorley's injury is what I was worried was going to happen to Lamar with how much he was slipping early in the game. Yeah. And I don't know. Like, I feel bad for Trace McSorley. I don't know what the Ravens are going to do for quarterback now that 2 of our 3 quarterbacks are probably going to be going on injured reserve. I can't imagine. That looks like an MCL tear to me.
Yeah, I was going to say short week, not short list, but short week going to Sunday too. So practice squad quarterback?
I mean, there's got to be somebody. My thought is you're getting somebody on a plane right now, so hopefully they can pass COVID protocols and
that's the other. I don't even think about that because it's like you got to get them in protocols like tomorrow, tonight to start getting ready for Sunday.
Right.
And then, like, okay, you sit in that room. We're going to video everything, and you'll be in that room. So.
On the flight home, they're looking at the names. DeCosta's, like, looking at available quarterbacks and going, like, what do we do?
Well, I mean, luckily, I think there's some names available. I feel like there's been some quarterbacks shuffling around. Ryan, what's his name?
Fitzpatrick.
He's off again, right? Tua's back.
Well, he's backing up though.
Okay,
you don't want to lose these guys. You just, even though they're not starting, you don't want to like cut them.
Well, I was gonna say because Tua is back starting, but he's apparently made of glass. So
I'm sure the Eagles would part with Carson Wentz if we wanted to.
You could get Wentz.
Yeah, it's too bad the trade deadline's already passed. I'm sure the Eagles are like, listen, they're just gonna fine us. We'll pay the fines. Just take them. Please.
And listen, here's the deal. You got to take them, but you also got to take all the jerseys that we got. We got a lot of jerseys. So you buy him, you buy the jerseys. We'll pay the penalty.
Dye the jerseys purple. Sell them at your store. People don't know the difference between Eagles and Ravens. It's all the same.
You want to get some new fans? Here you go. This is how you do it. We got you. It's. I'm sure that there are some people available because I feel like there has been some quarterback, not controversies, but like less patience. Like, just cut him. Like, we'll move on to the next guy on the lineup. So
yeah, I mean, I think that there's probably not any super compelling names out there. It looks like it would probably be you're signing somebody for depth. I mean, like constantly we've had this conversation for many years. We haven't brought it up recently, but Kaepernick is still sitting out there. So I mean, like, he worked out for the Ravens before. That would be an idea. I know that the Ravens have personally felt burnt by Kaepernick, so perhaps they wouldn't. But
is he still dating that girl, or
I don't know.
Maybe if he's not dating that girl.
It's like, listen, I was going through a thing. We've all had them relationships before.
Yeah, sometimes you just are in a jail cell and you're thinking to yourself, I gotta get this girl out of my life. I've been there, Cap. I know what it's like. Yeah.
Did you ever have a job where like you had an interview and you thought it went really well, and then your girlfriend called up and called the manager a slave trader? Yeah. I mean, we've all been there.
Yeah. You ever have a SEAL Team 6 yourself out of an apartment that you pay for? Yeah. We've been there. You know how it is. But yeah, so other big news in sports, actually also out of Cleveland today.
Yes.
With the Indians announcing that they're not going to be the Indians anymore.
Right. They're the team name to be determined.
Yes.
I started reading the letter that the Indians sent to their fans, and it was so long and so unbelievably filled with ever since the long days of Cleveland, from the very beginning of history of sports and blah blah blah, and the many great Cleveland Indians that have
all right.
I was like, come on, shut up.
And you skim it and you're like, oh, I missed something in there.
Just give me the tweet. Just give me the we're dropping Indians. Are bad. We're gonna have a new name. There will be a vote.
Corey, you are too old to be a millennial, all right? But just as some advice to Cleveland, Bullets not going to go over very well. But
right.
Wizards is already taken, so don't make that horrible decision.
Don't worry about Wizards. That's one that can go without. Though we make fun of the Wizards an awful lot on this program, I think that we should give them a little dap too when they do something well. They just traded for Russell Westbrook, so Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook. This team looks pretty decent. Maybe they'll actually make the playoffs for a change.
I know who one of those people is, so I'm waiting for the day when I just don't recognize anyone from an NBA team.
Or when I just start throwing out random names just to see if you're just like,
nope. no idea.
See if I'm gonna talk about a player. I want you to tell me if it's a real player or not a real player. Okay. I've been hearing great things about Taco Falls out of the Celtics camp.
I think that is a real player.
It is a real player.
Yes.
Taco Falls is a real player.
I think I read a story about no, I was on Reddit. It was definitely on Reddit. It was sports, like a sports ball Reddit, where it's like things that you're not going to believe are actual sports things by people who don't follow sports. Like, there's a guy named Taco in the NBA.
Just pulled him out of the league and put him in the.
It feels like the Reddit that I follow is like things that sound like one of us said them, but is it actually a legitimate sports thing? Like, yeah, my favorite basketball player, Taco Falls. Yeah, hey, he's a guy who plays basketball.
I also enjoy the there was a baseball podcast I listened to for a while where they would have a game where it's college baseball player or made up name. Oh. And it would just be like Charleston Rutherfordson. And then it's just like, that's got to be a fake name. Nope, he's the third baseman for Vanderbilt. The college baseball is just filled with like the most random like white people names.
Well,
like,
it's because it's generally in the U.S. college baseball.
Safari Jennings or something.
Very a white people sport, and also white people are fucking crazy, and all those millennial kids are now getting to college. So it's going to be like a Bradleyford, and it's like that's two names. You named him two things.
Groot.
But wait, so. Game of Thrones.
Donkey teeth.
Game of Thrones debuted 13 years ago, maybe 2006, 14 years ago. Okay, 12 years ago. So that means in 8 years, there's going to start being Daenerys's in college, like a lot of Daenerys's. So it's going to be weird. Probably not so much because they're going to have grown up with Daenerys's. It's going to be like Michelle.
Or they might be like Denny's or something like that.
Oh, they're gonna have weird nicknames. I think of it as like, how many Daenerys's can you have? There's 3 Daenerys's in this one class.
Wouldn't it be funny if Denny from The Ring was actually named Daenerys?
Oh yeah.
I think The Ring predated Game of Thrones, but it would just be.
Yeah. No, that was like early 2002, right? That had to be earlier than that.
It looked like it was from 1967, but
yes,
it definitely wasn't.
I think it was just early odds. But I just feel like it's you're like, how many Michelles can there be? And then like you go into a classroom and you're like, there's 4 Ambers and 7 Michelles in this class. It's going to be like that, except for weird goddamn names, because millennials were given the opportunity to name their offspring instead of having their parents do it, which is what should have happened.
Your name is Chesterteen? Me too.
No. Well, on the plus side though, I guess. Yeah. I bonded with like dumb things too. I remember the meme of like 2 guys with striped shirts like walk into the room and they're like, stripes, stripes, and you sit down with your friends. Or you walk into the prep period for college and they're like, what sports teams? You're like, oh, there's one other Orioles fans here. And then 20 years later, you're doing a podcast across the country with them. That happens too. Just this way, you're bonding over the weird name that you have. And it's like, right. I've never seen a Game of Thrones episode. I don't even know who this person is. Like not watching Star Wars, just to be that.
Though, to be fair, I was watching a couple episodes of The Mandalorian.
Oh, that's right. We did watch Mandalorian.
No, but I watched one since then.
Okay.
And I was asking questions. I
don't know if you can count
on my own time. I decided to watch it personally myself.
I don't know if you can count Mandalorian because, as you pointed out when we were watching together, the first episode, a lot of the episodes, it's a Western. It's just a Western that's like put a little cover on top of it that makes it space. But the rest of Star Wars is a Western space opera, which is a whole different thing. And I don't know that, but it's a whole culture, and you're not in the culture. But
see, but I tried Star Wars. It just didn't take. It wasn't interesting at all to me. But the Mandalorian is, I think, a little bit of a different thing because it feels more like each episode is self-contained. Yeah. So there's sort of like this Law and Order SVU thing about it, where like I feel like I could just sit down and watch anything and sort of get where. Like, I think I've asked Roberto like 4 questions about like how we got to where we are right now. Yeah. And that's all I really needed to know to like fill in the blanks of what I know just generally from pop culture about.
What does he do? Bounty hunter. Okay, I get it. Yeah. Okay, question 2.
I don't need to know anything else.
Why is there a baby? Oh, well, last season was about getting the baby.
Yeah.
All right, great. All right, so he's a bounty hunter. He's Bruce Bannering his way through the West.
Yeah, I think the other question I had was like, where in the timeline of the movies and stuff like that is this?
Yeah.
And all that's basically all I need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also realized that you're a white guy who grew up off a country club and has a really good relationship with his dad. So there is nothing about Star Wars that you can relate to at all. Having, grown up on a farm, essentially, having a terrible relationship with a father who I have ideological differences with, and, being a broke dick most of my life. I have a lot, and a revolutionary. Broke dick and a revolutionary. I got a lot that I combined with Star Wars with. So I think maybe that's the big difference. Also, I'm dreaming about the downfall of a republic, and we're seeing the downfall of a republic right now. So I think maybe that's
maybe Star we just Wars. Need to blow up a Death Star just to, clear the.
I would do that, but like I pointed out in our pre-show meeting, we already wasted $1 billion on an election that could have been used to, I don't know, end poverty or homelessness.
Also, no matter, even if you blew up a Death Star, there would still be 50% of people who are just like, well, what the fuck did the Death Star ever do?
Oh, also, I just realized you don't know the lore. They blew up the Death Star, and they immediately built another Death Star.
Oh, I know. I remember the scene from Clerks where Randall is talking about how they had to have probably hired independent contractors to build the second one because it went up so quick.
Yes.
And they probably had Imperial soldiers for the first and then independent contractors. And, is there hazard pay involved with that? Because that, this was blown up before.
It's going to be a target, right? Yeah. But I'm just realizing that is a Trumper metaphor before there was Trump. Because 50% of people were like, no, fuck those revolutionaries. Let's build another one. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. We're going to do it faster. And then we blow that one up.
Make the Death Star great again?
Yes, make the Death Star great again. Patent pending. That is a T-shirt. That's our T-shirt. Don't take that idea. We're going to do that.
Yeah, I'm sure Disney is going to love it. I'm sure Death Star is absolutely not copyrighted. So
I don't know. There's no way Death Star is.
Can we just misspell it?
What if we just
make the Death Star great again?
That's not a moon. Make it great again, or make a reference without actually saying Death Star or showing it, and then make it red, white, and blue, and put Trump 2020 on the back, or 2024 on the back,
or just put a Trump hair on top of the.
Oh yes, we're gonna sell 1 million of these T-shirts. All right, we're gonna keep that for the after show meeting. But speaking of Trump, for those of you who are waiting for the election to, I don't know.
And
finally be over, to the Trumpers amongst us who may be Trump supporters and may be illogical because maybe you're, from another country and your whole family is there, and the person who you're cheering for is very anti, you.
I think the audience might be confused because you're looking off camera at somebody they can't see.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roberto is back. Producer Roberto has returned. That's why the scenes are messed up. So anyway, but the election is officially over. As much as we can say that, because I'm sure it'll continue in ad infinitum.
I'm sure somebody will pull a sword out of a rock somewhere and say that it's divine that Trump remain president, or else.
I was gonna say I was about to make a reference.
Steve Scalise running into the House floor there can only be one.
Trump goes out to Mar-a-Lago, and a mysterious woman appears out of the lake and hands him a sword. This is not a way we run a government, okay? We don't pick our kings this way. But so the Electoral College met today.
Collect the Knights of the Round Table. Where's Steve Mnuchin and Betsy DeVos?
I was going to say, I immediately went to our cartoon president circle table.
Riding a horse across the... I'm coming,
I feel like Mike Pence would be the Don Quixote, on the little donkey. Everybody else is on the big white horses, and Mike Pence is on the little donkey.
Sorry, Mike. Budget cuts.
Oh no, Mike Pence is riding Secretary of State. What's his name?
Secretary of State.
Yes.
Pompeo.
Yes. Pence is actually riding Pompeo. Sorry, boys, budget cuts. Anyway. So, Electoral College met today, and they voted, and you may not have known that, but I would assume that you didn't turn on TV, because every channel had wall-to-wall coverage of the exciting vote by the Electoral College.
Yeah, and Rob and I talked about this earlier. We're both political science majors. We both generally like the sort of minutia idiosyncrasies about the election and stuff like that.
I'm pro Electoral College, and not a lot of people can say that.
I mean, even if you don't like the Electoral College, there's still something fun about it if you're really into politics.
Yeah.
But the way that they ratcheted up, like, oh, something could happen today, like Wolf Blitzer basically coming out going like, we have a guy with a breaking news button, finger on the breaking news button, just ready to go. Faithless elector, we got 20 hours of coverage all set.
And that's what I was going to say. Every producer was basically sitting there saying, God, give me a faithless elector right now. God, just let one. Or hoping that some idiotic state would send a whole slate of electors that were not elected and have them try to vote.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I love the people on Twitter who are just like, yeah, Nevada GOP, like voting in Trump. It's just like, that's not how it works. Just because a bunch of people crash the Zoom call doesn't mean they get to vote.
I don't get to show up in Alabama in like an Uncle Sam costume and vote. I have to be invited and wear an Uncle Sam costume in order to vote.
You have to be picked.
Picked. That's right. Yes, picked. Which, by the way, another thing I keep forgetting is that everybody wants to be a TV star. What do you think a guy showed up at the Alabama Electoral College in an Uncle Sam costume.
Full on, the beard, the hat, the everything.
And also, nobody takes the floor at these things because nobody cares. But of course, given the opportunity,
you're literally taking attendance. That's basically what you're doing.
Yes. There is one follow-up question to the here, and that is who. And everybody already knows the answer to both. Yeah. Here and Trump in Alabama. But he was offered the floor. He took the floor because you're dressed like Uncle Sam. Why wouldn't you take the floor? And then proceeded to espouse whatever Trump nonsense he wanted to espouse. Yeah. I muted the TV at that point and went back to work. But I think you made an interesting point, which is that if you had taken the local issues from around the country and sat down with that gentleman, who was clearly a very strong Trump supporter. Yeah. He would have chosen...
His outfit says that he's a very strong Trump supporter.
They're only Americans, all right?
The Alabama of it all says very Trump...
The only true Americans, the ones that dress up like Uncle Sam, they're Trumpers. Everyone else was just godless communists. But
I'm pretty sure Doug Jones won his Senate race because he's the only one who voted. Everyone's just like, I don't want to touch this Roy Moore thing.
Well, I was going to say, ironically, didn't he lose his Senate race?
With one? Well, before when he won it, yeah.
The first one he won, yeah.
He lost the second one to a football coach, so we're all good now.
Only so much I can do, all right? I'm a Democrat, not a god.
Listen, I'm a football coach named Tommy Tuberville. Clearly, I know a thing or two about government.
Jesus. I hate this country sometimes. But if you had sat down with that gentleman in the Uncle Sam costume and said, hey, here are a bunch of issues from around the country, you would hear things like, no, absolutely. Or access to healthcare is absolutely something we should do. Why would we not take money away from that? Or let's build this park. Let's do He would say many democratic things. Yeah. But the point is, we have, much like the football coach, decided to pick sides. And this is my side. These are my colors. This is what I'm going to wear. We were talking during the football game about a Cleveland fan who, when Baltimore blocked the kick and ran it back for a 2-point conversion a few years ago, went from very excited to very sad and then ripped off his jersey screaming, I hate this fucking team on camera. And what he didn't do, though...
I hate this team so goddamn much.
What he did after that, I'm sure, is to immediately on Tuesday, go out and buy a new jersey.
Buy one to make up for the one he just ripped.
Probably. He probably bought two because he felt so bad, and he probably gave it like a 7-gun salute when he buried it.
Viking funeral at Lake Ohio.
Because that's our colors. This is our team. And no matter what, I'm always with the team. And so Uncle Sam is there spouting this nonsense that he doesn't understand and doesn't believe. And if you actually sat down with him, he'd be a very rational person. But... just like every Cleveland fan.
Well, I mean, I also I've thought from time to time about having a news program with blind resumes. Mm-hmm. So I love when they do this in sports where it's just like this quarterback on Sunday was 15 for 23 with 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, and this quarterback was 10 for 20 with 150 yards and 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions. Which one would you prefer to have? And you're just like, well, clearly the first one. And it's like, Hitler. The first one was Gardner Minshew. The second one was Aaron Rodgers. Everything's crazy. it takes the bias out of it. It's just the numbers. So like, I would love it if like there was a news program that was just like, we have a quote, and it just like read it, and there's no name associated with it. And it's just like, who do you think it is? How do you feel about this issue? Do you agree with this person? It's Bernie Sanders. It's AOC. Haha, fucked you.
Good luck with re-election, schmuck. But
I bet you really enjoyed that, Birmingham, Alabama.
Getting back to the original topic, which is the Electoral College. It's very boring, usually. You can see that some places are used to having pomp and circumstance. New York, they do it on the floor of the House chamber, and the governor was there and doing the whole thing. Utah, it looked like somebody's like, can we just dial into your Zoom call? What's the situation?
Arizona literally moved their people to an off-site location because they were getting threats.
Yeah.
This is, by the way, if you're threatening people who are voting in the Electoral College, just think about this. Like, these are people who wear Uncle Sam outfits to political functions.
Yeah.
These are people who just really fucking love America. And either they're Republicans and they really fucking love America, or they're Democrats and they really fucking love America. But either way, let's just let them live in their joy a little bit. I'm not making fun of the guy in the Uncle Sam outfit for no other reason than he decided to wear it, and I think that's kind of awesome. Like, I make fun of him in love because, like, there's a part of me that would think about doing that sort of thing if I was.
I hate his team, but I like his panache.
His passion.
Yeah. The team sucks though. You chose the wrong team, buddy. But yeah, there like we saw that kid on Monday Night Football, the Pittsburgh kid, and we're like, this is the most Pittsburgh kid I have ever seen.
With like the mullet and
he was wearing the Penguins. He was wearing the Penguins jersey under the Steelers jersey.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this kid is Pittsburgh. But at the same time, you're making fun, well, because they suck, and everything in Pittsburgh is terrible. But this kid is clearly passionate about the thing that he
live
loves.
show in Pittsburgh off now.
But there are people who are passionate about politics, and you can respect the passion. Donald Trump is not one of those people. He's not passionate about politics. He's passionate about power and influence.
Yeah.
And so he got that for a little while. He's going to continue this nonsense about how the election is rigged and it's not over. But here's the game, folks. Your vote doesn't really count toward the presidency. Your vote counts for electors. The electors then get together and they decide who the president's going to be. And today, 338 of them, if that number's correct, 338, got together.
It's more.
Is it more?
Yeah.
What's the total?
538.
No. Well, 338 of them got together and said Joe Biden is going to be the next president.
Oh, 306.
Is it 306?
Yeah.
The number's up next to me. Is it not up next to me?
It's 3.
Okay.
It's 306.
Anyway, so there was a graph here at some point next to me. Oh, good. Okay, so nobody heard anything I said. So that's great. The entire show has been muted until now. Okay, good. So 306.
Has it really?
Yeah, he forgot to unmute it. So that's good. Check out the episode tomorrow. It's available everywhere. 306 got together and said Joe Biden's going to be president.
Yeah.
That's it. And I've heard from people that like, January 20th is really the day. January 20th is the day we got to worry about, right? Like, no, it's done.
Yeah, it's
today
been done.
Is it.
Yeah.
Well, it's been done, but today is the last day you could have had any hope.
Yeah.
In not even because that would have been George Washington, but like
today is the day where you have to be Dustin Hoffman running into the church and trying to stop the wedding.
Yeah.
Like, this is your last chance.
In 1844, there was a chance that a bunch of old rich white guys came in and were like, listen, I know they voted for so-and-so, but are we really going to let that guy be president?
Listen, we don't have the internet yet, so people wouldn't hear about this. So let's just
we can do whatever we want. And also, all of them. Also
I hope you don't. I hope you know. I own the general store. I'm the richest man in town.
Also, there's no women there.
And my name isn't Josiah Bezos.
There's no women. I said rich white men because they were all rich white and men. Literally, that's the only people who were there. And again, no internet. We're gonna leave here and go back to our homes, and no one will know it's us. And they could have chosen someone else. That's not how it is today. But today was the last hope. The reason the Electoral College exists, in part, is to protect the populace from themselves. Everyone got together. They did the vote. It's over. We're done.
Yeah.
So we can move on to other political stories that happened this past week, which obviously the number one story has to be that we got a second COVID stimulus coming just in the nick of time for Christmas, and people aren't going to have to worry about unemployment. They're not going to have to worry about gifts. They're not going to have to worry about anything. It's all been taken care of.
Yeah, about that.
I've been off social media, so I can't say for sure that happened. I'm just assuming.
Yeah, no. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but they did pass a couple things. So,
okay. All right.
They extended government funding. So we got a CR to continue government funding.
So no shutdown.
No shutdown.
Okay,
so we
good.
got that going.
Because the only thing worse than not getting a stimulus would be if, Social Security stopped being sent out.
Right,
and government services weren't offered.
Yeah. That would be a bit of a pain.
Yeah. Okay, so good.
And then we also passed the NDAA, so the military is funded.
Military's funded, right.
And it's a veto-proof majority, so Trump can't. I mean, he could veto it, but we're just going to send it right back to him. So
what you're telling me is that at least 67 senators agreed to spend money to support something that benefits the nation.
Yeah, billions of dollars.
Billions of dollars.
Yeah.
In fact, trillion, really.
I mean, getting closer to it than you were.
And because they're going to do an Iraq and Afghanistan expenditure later
certainly
this year.
Closer to $1 trillion than it is to zero.
Yes. But no, it's I think in reality it's $780 billion now, and then they're going to do a $300 billion allotment for Iraq and Afghanistan and the global war on terror in April, which is separate from the budget for the military somehow.
Yeah.
Which makes it $1 trillion. But yeah.
Meanwhile, I haven't worked since March, so it's nice to know that the House passed the HEROES Act, which seemed to take care of a lot of the troubles that were out there in the world. And then it went to the Senate where Mitch went on vacation.
Right, yeah.
And then he came back and RBG died.
Yes.
So they had to rush through Amy Coney Barrett so that Trump could have the Supreme Court justice to overturn the election results.
Well, I mean,
more on that later.
It turns out, though, so I can understand it. Maybe they don't have the stimulus because of the 4 months that they took vetting the Supreme Court nominee. And
it was like 3 weeks. It took almost no time if you think about it in terms of other Supreme Court justices.
So 3 weeks of daily hearings, in and out hearings all the way through.
There was like 4 hearings or something like that.
Oh, okay. Well,
couple votes. Well, they got to go back to their office and raise more money. That's how this works.
No, don't want to correct you. They have to go across the street to the office that's not in the government building to raise the money. It's the extra time of walking across the street and coming back.
Yeah, if you're calling somebody who talks to the super PAC, then that's legal. You're just talking to your brother, isn't that? I
mean, that's also true. Yeah, but just for clarity, all jokes aside, we avoided a government shutdown. That's excellent, and I think something like 60 senators voted for that as well. Probably not veto proof, but still. Trump's not going to veto the CR. He asked for a CR. So we're good until the new year on the government shutdown. We can get a bunch of people to agree on that. The NDAA passed, so the military's funded with a veto-proof majority, which means at least 67 voted for that. Mm-hmm. So that even if Trump, there's no reason for Trump to veto it. In fact, it goes to his desk as a pleasantry.
Yeah.
Because in reality, it became law as soon as it gets passed with 67, because there's nothing that the president can do except for agree with it or not. So, but they haven't done.
I mean, couldn't he could send it back and they would have to override the veto legitimately, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But if
so, I mean, it would be more performance art than it would be. But maybe something changes in the next 3 days before you vote on it again.
I mean.
Before you override the veto?
So he would it would be performance art. He would actually have to put a veto on something, and very few things get vetoed. Basically, the president says, I'm going to veto it. They decide whether or not they have the votes.
Yeah.
If they have the votes, then the president doesn't sign it. It just becomes law after the Senate passes it.
Yeah.
Which is what this is likely going to do. Yeah. Unless Trump is smart, and in the next 4 days or whatever it is, he decides to sign it because... Don't want to be on the bad side of the military if I decide to run in 2024, which is what I've been saying I'm going to do. But my message to everyone out there is, if they wanted to do it and it was important to them, it would get done.
Yeah.
We got a SCOTUS nominee. We got a continuing resolution. So guess who is getting paid through the second week of January? The Senate and the House and the president. Everybody's getting paid.
And the government people.
Everybody in the government's getting paid. We got the NDAA. The military's getting paid. And everyone in the House and the Senate, as much as the president doesn't realize this, the military is very important. it was sacrosanct. I heard this in a podcast this week. The military was sacrosanct in the 1950s. It is very nearly sacrosanct now. It is the only thing that is consistent throughout the history of America is you don't fuck with the military.
Yeah.
You don't be on the wrong side of them.
You can disagree with going to war or
Yes.
the reasons that you would send military to something, but you don't like the troops are.
The troops are the thing. Hey, if you go back to Bernie Sanders' argument against Iraq, it was never you're making a bad decision. It was we should not put our troops in the position of going to Iraq.
Right.
It's always phrased as I'm not a pacifist. I'm not saying no war ever. I'm saying this is a bad reason for our boys and girls to go off and die.
Yeah.
Which is a good argument. It's sacrosanct. You don't mess with them. So what my point is that if your life was important, if your job and your livelihood and your rent and your children's livelihoods were important, it would get passed.
Well, let's take it a step further. If it was important and it would get passed, then it would mean that Mitch McConnell allowed it to.
Yes.
This is basically the House passed the HEROES Act. What, like June, July, something like that?
Yeah.
Like right when the initial run was running out of unemployment.
Oh yeah, so it was
the
really
$600 or so.
So what we're really talking about is what do they take out of the bill so that the Senate will sign it, which means the Senate puts forward a bill. They do it. They go into committee. We already have the agreement.
Right. But I'm saying, like, so far, 1/3 of the making the bill into the law has happened. The bill has been made and passed in the Congress and moved on to the Senate, where McConnell put it in a drawer and hasn't thought about it since. And
no, it's a judiciary. No, it's in a committee somewhere. And the hearing just keeps getting reset.
Yeah,
reset.
You know, and there was a bunch of moderate Republicans and Democrats who got together with an idea for a stimulus package, which is kind of the framework of which they're dealing with now.
Yeah.
But McConnell has either wanted liability protection for corporations.
And I want to stop you because the last 4 months, his major line has been there is no stimulus without liability protection.
Yeah.
It's not we want to make sure that Republicans are taken care of.
Yeah.
Like, make sure this money's not just going to the inner cities. Make sure it's going out to rural America where they need help too.
By the way, just so people who don't understand what liability protection exactly means, if you got sick at work if you got COVID at work because of some sort of action of the employer,
Yes,
where they did not protect you safely enough, then you could sue them for damages. This isn't necessarily I showed up for work and I got COVID, but they did everything right. Like you are, if a business tries to do everything they possibly can to keep you safe, then they are not liable for. I mean, you could bring the suit, but it probably won't go very far, or the chances aren't very good.
Well, however, there is an argument as well that if a company went to the ends of trying to redefine themselves, that made them essential, and then they made you come to work or said no job or either come to work or you have no job.
Yeah.
And then you contracted COVID. That you could theoretically sue them and just say, we closed because the boss decided to go on a bender in Vegas and didn't come in on Monday and Tuesday. And I had to stay home with no pay.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden we're essential and we have to work through a pandemic. And I came in and I got COVID and now I'm going to have medical bills for the rest of my life. Who knows what kind of long-term medical things I'm going to have.
Yeah.
I would sue for that. Why not? I bet
Yeah.
there's a lawyer who would take that on contingency.
I'm sure there are. I'm saying, like, the likelihood of if you work at a restaurant and every single precaution is taken. There's distance, there's plexiglass, there's face shields, there's masks, there's everything.
Yeah.
And you happen to get COVID, and especially if you get it but don't, like, maybe you're sick for a little while but you don't get you're not in a hospital or anything like that. Like, the judge is probably not going to look upon you favorably for bringing this suit. Like, you probably, it's not the same as my employer didn't do anything to keep us safe. They shoved us into small rooms for 8 hours in a day and told us to breathe loudly and, like,
100 employees in one big room.
Yeah,
all
like
together.
Whatever. Like, there's plenty of people who are talking about Amazon's treatment of their employees throughout the pandemic. I think that would be a rife place to start. And I think that, Bezos kind of pays McConnell. I don't know. I'm not saying specifically, but things like this, like a situation where Bezos would pay McConnell through a super PAC a lot of money to vote in his interest, which would be, I don't want to get sued by all my employees. So, but then the new thing is, it's not even about liability protection. It's about bailing out the states, which McConnell doesn't want to do. That's even more of a sticking point to him apparently right now. And that's ridiculous because the states have been holding the load for a lot of what's going on, right? All the unemployment that anyone is getting is coming from the states.
Paying unemployment, which, by the way, we exhausted any trust fund you had for unemployment long ago.
Yeah.
Long ago. So now it's coming out of budgets. And his ability to do this is because, I don't know if you've seen a map lately, Corey, but the big states with a lot of people in them tend to be Democratic.
Yeah.
There's less of them, which is why there are so many small red states. But I think that Mitch is not making a smart move here, because states like Kentucky are out of money and they're going to go broke.
Well, not only that, but here's the nightmare scenario. January 1st, if there's no stimulus, then any kind of, or it's December 26th or something, right?
Yeah,
it's
right around the day after Christmas. Yeah.
Is the day where you can get kicked out of your apartment if you haven't been paying your rent.
Yep.
And that's up to the landlord now at this point, and every single landlord in the country is going to try and get people kicked out.
The number of cases,
regardless of whether or not it's a reasonable, you were late and you were $15 short.
Yeah.
Fuck you. You're getting kicked out.
Who are you, Jared Kushner?
The problem is that there's no way to. So many people needed to be protected, and the government was absolutely nowhere to be found on any of this. The restaurants failing and closing and stuff like that, which everyone sort of agrees is awful.
Yeah.
And everyone wants them to not be closing up. And, to various degrees, people want to go to the restaurants. People want to support restaurants. They want to eat in the restaurants. They want to eat outside. Maybe it's closed. And this isn't because of a mayor per se or a governor or anything else. It's because the country as a whole has not been able to get this shit under control or help people get through in a time where they don't have anything to get them through. And it's...
And no guidance.
The blood is on Mitch's hands on this one.
Yep.
Trump for sure has a part to play in the 300,000 deaths for coronavirus that we've had so far. But, McConnell is right there, I think, in the catbird seat on that.
Well, and I do want to talk about Corona, but we'll get to that because there is one other big story this week.
Yeah, there is.
And Corey, I want to give him a chance to talk about it. But for those more level-headed people in the audience, Texas filed a lawsuit. We talked about it over the past couple weeks, trying to basically say that the election practices of some other states injure the people of Texas. And I think we brought it up last week that they allowed all these other states to join, which essentially said, it's not just uniquely Texas that's impacted, which essentially erodes standing. So
I don't think we actually talked about it last week. I think this all sort of developed in the last
was it really
7 days? Yeah.
Nonetheless, so Texas filed, and then they allowed a bunch of other states to join. But in their filing, they said people in Texas are uniquely affected by this because these other 4 or 5 states who had bad voting practices, they are going to negatively impact Texans by having a tie count in the Senate, which will be broken by Kamala Harris, which may impact Texans, which is a stretch, to say the least. But then to allow...
It's not sound legal arguments.
No. And the problem is, I would have said, wait until there's damages, but then Joe Biden's president. So it defeats the purpose because really, and here, cut to the chase, the purpose is the guy who filed it, the state attorney general of Texas, is under federal investigation and about to be under federal indictment for tax evasion or tax fraud. And he wants to throw up a big big red flag, I guess, to draw Trump's attention because he wants to say, hey, before you leave, it'd be real nice if I could get one of them pardons that you're going to be handing out to everybody. And so he wants to look like he's doing everything he can. And this nonsense, and the language of Trump is the nonsensical lawsuit, apparently. So he is filing a nonsensical lawsuit. A bunch of other states joined, which eroded standing. The SCOTUS ruled on that this week, which essentially basically said, this is nonsense. And a bunch of people joined that misspelled even their own names on the filing, so we can't respect it. And that's the other funny, not funny, kind of sad death of the republic part of this, is that 2 states that joined are not states.
No.
They have the name of a state in their name, but New California and New Nevada are not places.
No.
Yet they are part of this lawsuit. So
I'd be interested in finding out if they just made a new California or if they just separated out parts of the current California to make the new California. They separated out parts.
So if I have been talking about Cal Exit for a while.
Yeah.
And essentially what they did is they took everything that we would probably want to leave in the United States. Like, we'll have the Republic of California. You can keep the state of California. Just keep everything, I don't know, east of the bay. Just east of the bay and
take
south
the state in half and just sort of split it down the middle, and you can have the eastern half of it. And
except for what's the county directly east of Los Angeles County?
Riverside.
Is that the big one that goes to the state line?
No, there's another.
Yeah,
there's another couple there.
I basically want to make that the bottom of that new state, and we'll keep everything from there down to the Mexico border, because I don't want to have to pass through another state on the way to Vegas. And I'd also like to at some time incorporate maybe Las Vegas and the Grand Canyon area.
Well, we talked about making the big
make into a greater California area. So we'll incorporate that, because by the way, New Nevada is everything in the state except Clark County. It's everything but Clark County.
So everything not fun about Nevada.
Yes. All of the really terrible, and if you want to know what kind of person would file this, it's the kind of person who would live in Pahrump, Nevada.
New Nevada. What happens here stays here, because you probably were born here and you're probably going to die here. And hey, has Becky got a new job at the grocery store? Well, you look at that.
It's New Nevada.
It's a big slogan.
All the fun things about Nevada are in old Nevada. Who travels to Nevada and doesn't go to, I don't know, Las Vegas?
New Nevada. It's like Utah going through an awkward teenage phase.
Oh. You know what I just realized? If we do give them New California and New Nevada, we lose Tahoe, though.
Annex Tahoe.
And we also lose that good weed growing territory in Northern California. So maybe we keep.
Well, we can't lose that.
Keep the northern counties and try to bleed that over into Tahoe.
Why don't we just make New California the smallest state? It's just Death Valley and nothing else.
So the proposed state is literally all the counties that you would think of as Republican counties.
Yeah.
It's everything that surrounds San Francisco and Oakland and Los Angeles and San Diego.
2 senators, 1 congressman.
Yeah. That's
like Wyoming.
I was going to say more like Montana or Alaska, because it's a huge fucking state.
Yeah, true.
But very few people. California is big and has a big population, but if you were to break it down, it's a lot like Alaska. It's big with a lot of population in one place. That's it. They're all living in one area.
Well, a couple places in California, because you got the Bay Area and you got Southern California, and Sacramento has some people.
Does it?
Enough.
Okay.
So anyway, this lawsuit, not only was it signed on by New California and New Nevada, but also 120-something members of the House GOP.
And here's where Corey's going to get wound up.
And whoever in your mind, you were just like, who's my least favorite congressman? They're on that list.
Andy Harris?
Andy Harris was on the list.
Steve Scalise.
Yep, he was on.
Scumbag
Kevin McCarthy, Matt Gaetz, all
scumbag Steve Scalise, who talked shit about or got shot by somebody, right?
Yeah.
And then talked shit about the people who sent him goodwill while he was in the hospital after being shot. What a scumbag.
I have scumbag Andy Harris stories too, but that's for another day. I was
going to say, he's not like defeat Wayne Gilchrist, the nicest man in the world scumbag like Andy Harris, but
so they all signed amicus briefs onto this lawsuit as well.
Amicus brief is a friend of the court brief, which is basically saying, I'm not joining the lawsuit, but here's why you should pass it, and I'd like to join if you would let me join.
Yeah.
But I know I can't because I don't have standing to
join. I would love to be an injured party in this.
Yes.
So, yes, this is a problem because literally the only thing you have to do when you become a member of Congress is swear to uphold the Constitution. And all these people, state right people for the most part, have decided that certain states don't get the right to be able to decide how to run their own elections, which is what's said in the Constitution, that each state will hold their own fair and impartial elections. I don't know how we put the toothpaste back in the tube on this one.
Yeah, what can be done about this, Corey?
Well, I mean, There is a little section of the 14th Amendment. I'll read it to you real quick.
Okay, I was going to say, I have it here if you'd like me, but go ahead.
No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who have previously taken an oath as a member of Congress, as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature, blah, 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 shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof, but Congress may vote by a vote of 2/3 of each house remove such disability. Mm-hmm. So, basically, what we're talking about here is says the engaged in insurrection and rebellion, seeing as they want to overturn the democratic process by which we vote for the people who are going to the Congress, to the Senate, and more importantly, for their case, the presidency here.
And I'm going to let you go. I do want to clarify that the confusing language at the end of that just meant that if you served in the South, in the Confederacy, we can let you into Congress, but 2/3 of everybody else in Congress has to vote to remove the bar from you being in Congress. So like Jefferson Davis, who was very well respected in Congress before he left Congress to go be president of the Confederacy, possibly didn't, but possibly could have run for Congress again and gone back and been like, guys, sorry about all that. Hey, but we're all friends here. Just vote me. Just let me be a voting member.
Yeah, let me be back. I got good ideas now that I'm part of this union again.
Yeah, and they could have done that. They could have let him in. Or it may have been that Puerto Rico is on the verge of either insurrection or becoming a state, right? It might be independent, it might be a state. So it may be that one of the senators basically says, or one of the non-voting members of Congress goes home and says, nope, I'm here for independence, let's do this. And then the United States squashes that independence movement, but says, listen, we should have given you statehood. That's our bad. So we're going to give you statehood. We're going to give you 2 House members and but it'd be more than 2, 3 House members and 2 senators, and that guy runs for the House. And when he gets back, everybody in the House is like, yeah, I know you were asking for statehood for like 45 years, and we probably should have done that before the whole war broke out, so we're going to vote to let you vote.
Yeah.
And respect that they voted for you. So that's why it's confusing, because it just means you're not allowed to do this at all.
Right.
Unless 2/3 of Congress says that you can do it, then you can.
We also haven't had an amendment for a while, so people might not be totally aware of what?
They might not be familiar with the wording of amendments.
Yeah. This is from an old time. But basically there has been a progressive movement because all these people are openly trying to overthrow the duly elected president, that Nancy Pelosi shouldn't seat any of them because she has the choice as to whether or not any of these people actually get sat at the new Congress.
Well, if she is the House Speaker.
Yes.
Which is not clear yet.
Well, I mean...
They haven't held the vote. We don't know if she's
but, she's probably going to win, despite...
God, let's hope not.
Despite everyone not wanting this to happen, but somehow we're stuck here. So, but yeah, I think that she's not going to do that though, because she doesn't have a sack to hold it against anybody.
Well, Corey.
I mean, like, I don't remember if you remember the the really exaggerated clap. That's as far as Nancy gets to putting the sack on the table. That's all.
She is a woman. I don't know if.
The
metaphorical
sack.
Yes,
not
sack.
the.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're saying sack up Nancy Pelosi, you're not saying that you wish she was a man. You're saying that you want to see some fortitude.
Yeah, I don't care what Nancy Pelosi choose to identify as. Like, whatever she wants to do is fine with me. I have no qualms about any of that. Mm-hmm. What I mean is to metaphorically sack up and maybe for once stop being so awful at your job. Because, listen, think about it this way. If McConnell was the House Majority Leader instead, and a bunch of Democrats did this sort of shit, it wouldn't just be, oh, you boys will be boys. He would find some sort of way to make this hurt for those people in some sort of way. Now, this was just a litmus test to show Trump how many loyal servants he has out there. And when Trump can't run in 2024 because he's, in prison or something like that, then, Steve Scalise can be like, no, I was the good boy who said that Trump should be, should have kept the presidency. But since he's in jail, I guess it could be me. Like, that whole thing.
Yeah.
That'll eventually come in 4 years from now. I think that there's ways to punish all these people, and I would personally, I would like there to just be an investigation, just to have them all testify under oath as to why they chose to try and unseat democratic process here. I also suggested that when you swear them in, make them take the oath like 10 times to like really make sure that they got that they're supposed to uphold the Constitution.
Yeah.
Like maybe each time you read it again, just be like, and you promise to uphold the Constitution.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like that would be a nice one. It would be annoying and everyone would hate it, but it would at least be something. If my options are nothing or something, I'd prefer something.
Okay.
If it's just torturing them by like doing something procedural that annoys them, I guess I'll take what I can get. I mean, what I would prefer is that you press charges on them for openly defying the vote of the people. But
so, let's bring a little logic into this conversation.
Yeah,
I'm going to go to the pertinent part, as we lawyers would say, of the amendment, and tell me what part of this their conduct was offensive to. Shall have engaged in insurrection.
Mm-hmm.
Did they engage in insurrection?
Yeah, this is a coup attempt.
Nope, that is not what it is. This is a legal filing.
They're trying to overturn the election.
This is a legal filing.
So,
they're using the system in order. The system itself has safeguards in order for people to exercise their rights within it. That's what they are doing. That is not what insurrection is. I am understanding why I can't get insurrection started. People think it's fucking paperwork. You think insurrection is a signing onto a legal finding?
No, I mean, obviously that's not what I would think of necessarily as insurrection.
Okay.
If you said, "Hey, look at all that insurrection over there," I wouldn't think it's a bunch of people with amicus briefs.
Well, we got a bunch of original constructionists on the Supreme Court, so I think they're going to look at the writing of this and say what it is.
Fine, whatever.
No.
If you don't want to make people's lives difficult, then why are you even in government? I mean, that's the.
I want to make people's lives better. That's why I wanted to be in government. I realized you couldn't, which is why I don't want to be in government anymore. But the whole why punish them? Like what good does that do? Yes, Mitch would do it, and Mitch is a fucking terrible person.
No, I know Mitch is a terrible person, but every so often, me and you have a conversation on this podcast where we talk about the awful thing that Mitch McConnell just did. And then we also say, and he played it like he was like a seasoned pro. Yes. He knows exactly all the angles of how he was going to get it. And he did some despicable shit along the way. Yeah. And guess what? Nobody fucking remembers when it's time to vote for him.
Right.
Just like nobody's going to fucking remember in San Francisco if Nancy Pelosi did something. Like, but it would cost her 0 votes. She could go and she could stop this by making. How many times have you ever been, you fake being mad at somebody to hold a certain level of.
You're thinking of the other Roberto. I'm Rob. I don't do that.
But I'm saying, like,
I'm not a 12-year-old girl.
I get randomly offended at something, and then you're just like, well, what can I do to make it right? Okay. And then I get something out of it just because I faked like I was really upset.
Yeah.
And you can only get away with it so many times because then you're the boy who cried wolf. But, there is a way to play this where you get some sort of benefit out of it. And I think just having them have to testify as to why they decided to do it, charge them with contempt and, move on.
So I look at Mitch McConnell, I say he's done terrible things. Terrible things should happen to him. I'm not saying I'm going to do them. I'm not saying that when I speak of insurrection, these are the things I'm speaking of. I'm just saying, terrible guy, terrible things should happen to him at some point. But what I don't
in a Darwinism kind of way, like
natural selection. Darwin, Marx, one of these things. Marx, Lenin, Trotsky. One of these things should one of these belief systems. But what I don't think is that any good comes from being like, well, he's playing the game really dirty, so we got to play the game dirty too. Because then you're not making people's lives better.
Yeah.
Does her spending 7 weeks on hearings about this filing get COVID relief done?
No.
Does it make it more likely that COVID relief is going to get done?
I'm not saying do it first thing. I'm saying put it on the back burner for when you're looking for when you need to tag the Republicans with something, maybe right before the midterms. Like there's a little space there. Just say, yeah, we decided to investigate this a little bit more, and now we'd like to call all these Republicans to the floor and explain to yourself why you didn't think that the people of Wisconsin knew how to run an election, or Pennsylvania, or Georgia, or any of the states that Trump lost that he needed to win. And none of the states, by the way, that they didn't just throw in like, by the way, Iowa fucked up their election too. Right. And even though Trump won,
only the 5
we still think you should look at Iowa because they fucked up. Like, no, they don't give. The only purpose of this lawsuit was in the hopes that it would get to the Supreme Court and they go like, yeah, we'll take a listen at this. And then they would just be so utterly in party to the Republicans that they would just be like, yes, of course, throw out all these votes. And then, of course, American citizens would have to rise up against the government and stuff like that, because that's just the bar that we can't cross, where the Supreme Court just unilaterally decides that something that is so patently ridiculous is...
You and I disagree about the bar. I don't think that would do it either.
You don't think that would do it?
No. You think that I'm getting the people that are out here for the Women's March and the George Floyd protest, the ones who are dancing in the street, are going to rise up and do anything at any point?
Well, I guess rise up is a little...
You have convinced me that insurrection is impossible.
There'll be a really good dance party that happens in the area of the protest.
It will last a long time. Many days there will be dancing and chanting.
Yeah.
And then we'll all go home and forget about it.
Yeah. All right. I guess you made a real point. Why should I ever hope that people are held responsible for their actions, I guess?
See,
though I will say this, just going to the Supreme Court, just super quick there.
Yeah.
Before we move on to COVID stuff. I love the fact that this was just denied. They didn't even take the time to even think about this as a serious lawsuit. And that, not Scalia. I always want to say Scalia. Thomas and...
Merrick Garland's seat. Who's in Merrick Garland's seat?
No.
It wasn't him?
No. Not Roberts. Not any of the new ones. Fuck, who can... Why am I blanking on Supreme Court justice? Anyway.
They're all... Wait. Everybody who's... Except for Thomas is left. Like,
no.
Is to the left.
No.
I'm pretty sure.
No, because it's 6-3.
Yeah. Trump has had 3. Bush had 2. Obama had Merrick Garland and one other one.
It doesn't matter. The idea that the idea that the Thomas and the other one had said that they wanted to hear it because any case that involves states suing other states should rise to the level of a Supreme Court, at least a hearing on the matter. But the fact that there were so many states involved in the whole thing, the fact that 17 other states signed on, the fact that all these congressmen and fake states joined into the lawsuit made it less palatable to the Supreme Court to be heard.
Yeah. Essentially, they said, we wouldn't agree with you, but I want to give you time to be heard, because states deserve the right to be heard when they have problems with other states.
I mean, this is essentially the easiest you're going to get to a 9-0 Supreme Court decision, to have it just dismissed out of hand like this.
Especially these days. I don't know if you're ever going to get a 9-0.
Yeah, it would be hard to think of the issue that would get 9-0.
And I just want to say, I'm glad that at least I'm rubbing off on you somehow. That you come out of that discussion with I don't know why I expect anything from anyone. I should just have no expectations, and then I'll never be disappointed. You're right. And boy, do I have a book for you. It's $29.99, and if you like it, I got a class. You can come and join that class. And then if you really do well at that class, you can go up. And we have these sashes that you wear, and each sash class is only $1,500. And right after that, you can do these from home too.
Alito. That's the name that we forgot.
Did you see me vamp there and give him time to search? That is professional shit right there. Alito, yes.
Yes.
But Alito is George W. Bush.
Yeah.
Roberts came before Alito.
Right.
Which is exactly what I fucking said.
Well, no, I said it wasn't Roberts, and I said it wasn't any of the 3 new ones.
Okay. Well, and I said
that's what I was. That was
the
point I was trying to make.
Everyone older than Roberts is from the left. Is to the left, except for Thomas.
Yeah.
Thomas is.
Yeah. By the way, somebody's got to have a sit down with Breyer and tell him time's up. Time to go.
Now's the time.
Time to go pick apples.
Yeah. Now's the time to go. We need to get because I got
especially if we win some Georgia runoffs. Like,
yes,
definitely time to go. Time for you to take an early retirement.
Yeah, and then be like, hey.
And by early retirement, I mean like way too late retirement. But now's the time.
I'd love to introduce you to our next Supreme Court Justice nominee. She graduated law school, class of 2021, and she's never practiced law or sat on the bench, but clearly not a problem. So here you go.
Her name is Chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum. She's going to be on the court for the next 75 years. Get used to it. By the way... She's an actual communist. She's an actual communist.
In her dissents, it's often like, this case didn't really sparkle with me.
I held the item in question, and I didn't feel joy when I did so I understood the defendant's position. But yeah, by the way, no more old people. Let's start nominating some 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds. Let's do it.
Pete Buttigieg's?
Pete Buttigieg, want to keep him around because 2024 is going to be here, and I do not want Kamala Harris running for president. I mean, she's going to run. I don't want her winning the presidency in 2024. All I'm saying is I know some guys.
I really do think that AOC is going to run. Is she?
I mean, maybe. Good. She can run too. She's not a lawyer. Yeah. I'm looking at some guys in their mid to late 30s who have practiced law before but became disenchanted with it, and maybe they could have, they're walking around with knowledge like every Supreme Court justice prior to Roberts is leftist, except for Thomas, and everyone after that was nominated by a Republican, except for one, and Obama got.
Well, we got Sotomayor and Kagan,
yes,
who are after
nominated by Obama.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, all I'm saying is,
but it's just Breyer.
They're walking around with all of that knowledge, and they really could be put really to good use.
I mean, like, listen,
if you could find someone like
that. I would, if I was president and I could nominate people to the Supreme Court, I would absolutely put you on the Supreme Court. Mostly because I love picking fights with people.
Yeah,
and I think this would be a lot of fun. Like, just having. Did you listen to the episode of the podcast? I'm like, nah, probably not.
I just realized
you were on it.
The 14th Amendment would be problematic because not only would I need to be confirmed by 50% of the Senate, I'd need 2/3 of the entire Congress because I have definitely been engaged in active insurrection and rebellion against the United States. So, it was worth thinking about. Nonetheless,
just finishing off though.
Wait, I got one. Here we go. Active insurrection would kill a lot of people, but probably not as many as Trump is allowed to die from the COVID virus in 2019 and 2020. So
there we go.
Was that good? Was that happy? Did that make everybody feel good?
It sparked joy in me.
Oh, good. So how about this? 300,000 dead. How's that make you feel?
Did not spark joy in me.
Yeah. We are bordering on World War II theaters now. So World War II combined was 520,000 dead, but that's two theaters of war. That's Pacific and Europe, which were essentially two different wars being fought at the same time. One of those, I think the low end of that is 300 and some. So we are coming up on the losses.
Well, I mean, I'm really worried at this point personally that we're going to accelerate into a completely unsustainable position here shortly, because I think Los Angeles County only has a handful of ICU beds remaining.
Yep.
Orange County's done.
Yep. Riverside done.
We're getting to the point where the nightmare scenario when we all shut down originally was we don't want to end up like Italy.
Yeah.
Where so many people were sick at the same time that hospitals got flooded and people were dying in the hallways because there wasn't enough stuff to treat them and there wasn't enough room to put them.
Mm-hmm.
And people said that wouldn't happen in America. We'll take care of it. And then 9 months later, we don't give a shit about the pandemic anymore. Everyone's over it. Everyone's really tired. I find that more and more people are just like using the excuse of whatever politician has done whatever as a reason, a carte blanche reason to like, well, fuck it, I'm going to do whatever I want because Newsom does whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing I feel like has trended all over the place.
Not a reason. Guys.
Not a reason, but still, like I get it. They should be better role models in this whole thing. But the good news, as horrible as everything has been this year, the good news is that we have our first vaccines were distributed today in record time, and thankfully the scientific community has been in full support of what they've been seeing so far in these vaccine trials. Nothing to make people worried about, possible long-term consequences or something that might come, shortly thereafter. It's I'm not a scientist, so I don't want to act like one, but everything I've heard about people speaking of the issue makes it seem like it's a worthy thing to do, especially considering that so many people are dying.
Minimal bad reactions. Only people who've had bad reactions are allergic to other stuff. And should have known. It's like, have you ever had an allergic reaction to a vaccine? Oh yeah, every time I get a vaccine, I have a bad reaction.
And they want to hold it out from pregnant women and children, which
hasn't
is
been tested.
Sort of usual operating procedure.
Yeah.
Something tells me if there was an emergency, they might give it to a pregnant person.
Well,
I mean, I think early on or something like that.
If you were early, maybe. I think the other part of that is you'd be safer just going home. Go home for the last 3 months of your pregnancy and just stay home.
Yeah.
And have your baby, and then we'll give you both. Well, we'll give you the vaccine.
Yeah.
And maybe by then we'll know whether or not it's safe for children. But I would say grain of salt.
Yeah.
If you and 100 of your friends were lost in the desert, and you were nearly not starving to death.
Dehydrated?
Yeah, I was going to say dehydrated, but what's the...
Thirsty?
Thirsty to death? Because, like, dying of hunger? Dying of thirst. You're dying of thirst.
Yeah.
So then you stumble out of the desert altogether, and you come upon a 1997 school water fountain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. All right, we're going to be saved, right?
Yeah.
So you see the guy at the front of the line take his first drink. He's going to be saved from dying of thirst. The problem is you're number 97 in line.
Yeah.
So we have our first vaccines given out today.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have enough doses for stage 1, part A.
Yeah.
And what they're planning on doing...
By the way, October, Pfizer had offered the United States an additional 400 million vaccines.
Which would be enough for all of stage 1 and part of stage 2.
Yeah.
But not.
Because 200 million people, because it's 2 doses.
Yes.
And it was no down payment or anything like that. It's like, you get this when we ship it.
Yep.
And the government, Trump's office specifically was just like, nah, we're good.
We got our eggs in a lot of baskets. We're not going to put all our eggs in one basket. So now we got a couple other vaccines we're working on.
So we'll see.
Also, we got this O The Anthem thing that we're really excited about. But my concern, my thing I want people to stay in mind about is we're going to get 100 million doses. They're going to give 60 million out, which means that we need more to even give people 2 doses, which is what you have to have. And they're betting that they're going to be available, which is probably a safe bet, probably.
Yeah.
But we need 700, almost 800 million doses to give everyone in the United States a dose. And we have no idea where those are going to come from. They think the other vaccine's going to be ready. It's going to get approved, maybe.
Yeah.
No word about that yet. And we are splitting this amongst billions of people.
Well, I mean, also, specifically with the Pfizer vaccine, there's a lot of things that keep it... That, for people like us in LA, it would be easier because there are cold storage facilities capable of handling that. There are hospitals in this area that are capable of delivering such a vaccine. If you live in Bismarck, not to make fun of Bismarck, but you don't have the same kind of infrastructure available to you.
Well, maybe in Bismarck you do, but it's I'm 5 hours from Bismarck.
Yeah, I live a
and
little
5
ways away.
hours from everything else.
Yeah.
Or,
10 hours from Denver and all that.
I was going to say, what's on the other side?
But we
drove through there. I should know this.
The point I'm making is that, I think the Moderna vaccine is one that doesn't have to have any particular temperature restrictions on it or something like that.
It is still low, but it's more places have the facilities.
Right.
So it's not
I mean, I think there's some sort of logic that's being put in. We have the Pfizer one right now. Let's try and get it out to the healthcare people as quickly as we can. And then we'll, maybe by then more of the vaccines that are easier to distribute will go to, the plain states more, because that's going to be a harder place to
Yep.
keep the super cold storage of the Pfizer vaccine.
And we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And I mean, Fauci said at the beginning of this thing, a year to a year and a half to get to the vaccine. Scientific community heard that at the time and said, that seems very ambitious.
Yeah.
I think you had a similar thing on.
I think we said it was very ambitious.
Very ambitious. We're at 11 months.
Yeah.
So we're ahead of schedule. If you look at it that way, and it seems like a lot of good has been done in mostly the many years of people working on different ways of tackling vaccines for the last several decades, which is the important part of investing in science. Like, I've made fun of NASA before.
Yes.
But
some NASA science went into vaccine making.
Well, I'm saying the idea that we spend a lot of money. This is the point you've always made to me about NASA. I've always poo-pooed it.
Yes.
But it's a perfectly reasonable argument now that I think about it in these terms, that 20 years of spending money on innovation will eventually lead you to the shortcut to the vaccine later, or whatever you're doing later, like the.
Well, and I'll admit, NASA had very little to do about vaccines.
Right.
But let me put this to you. The other side of that equation is when you put all of the greatest minds in the world to one problem.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how fast we can solve that problem.
Yeah.
Let's say after we wrap up this COVID thing, I'm going to split that group in half. I want half of them to work on cancer, and I want the other half to work on global warming. And use as much fervor as you've used about this on each of those issues. Because, by the way, number one killer of people, if you combine all cancers together, and going to kill everyone on the planet. Almost
isn't heart disease up there, too?
What's that?
Heart disease is up there.
So heart disease is greater than colon cancer or lung cancer.
But combined cancer.
Combining the growth of human cells that grow abnormally, which is what cancer is, there's no comparison. All kinds of cancer put together. And there may not be one cure for all, but there's Keytruda, I think is the name of the drug, is actually proven to treat 117 different kinds of cancer, completely unrelated. And they're like, this could be, they call it Keytruda, which is, I wish they hadn't. But it's possibly the key to, they've broken how cancer as a thing grows, and it actually doesn't cure the cancer. It just slows the growth enough that your body can fight it off on its own.
Yeah.
So let's throw some research at that.
Yeah.
And also the other half, climate change will 100% kill 3 billion people in 50 years, or make all those 3 billion people move off the coast where they currently live. So let's look at that too. Just conquer those two problems. Who knows what we can do in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years?
You'd have to have people who believe in climate change, though, or think that spending money on innovation like cancer is worth it.
Half
the same
people
sort
in
of
this country
fervor.
don't believe in COVID, and we still got a vaccine for it. So
and they're gonna take it. Oh, believe me, they're gonna take it.
And the other, I guess, when I say the good news, bad news of this is great. Vaccines are out. 300,000 are dead. We're gonna probably hit 500,000 before we're done with this, which sucks. But the other thing that sucks is that in Europe, they have discovered a new variant of COVID-19, which is the inevitability of this. When you let a virus run rampant and then do what we do, which is we only clamp down when it gets real bad, eventually what it does is it says, I can change. Well, it doesn't say this. Darwin tells us that it modifies itself to somehow hide itself from you. Like when you get the flu, you're sick for 1 day before you're contagious. You're actually sick for like 6 days, and then you start getting symptoms 1 day before you're contagious. Or you're contagious for 1 day before you show symptoms.
Yeah.
COVID, you are contagious for 4 or 5 days before you can start showing symptoms. You're virally shedding before you show symptoms. That's dangerous. If COVID could push that out and say, like, you don't show symptoms until day 11, and you've been contagious the entire time. That's how it spreads without you being able to be like, oh, I'm going to go lock myself away because I think I have symptoms and I'm going to go get a test.
Yeah.
People who don't regularly test, like the people that I know who go get tested regularly because they care about other people around them. It's worrisome because if we are seeing in less than 2 years, a genome change in the virus that makes it certifiably different than the original virus, it could be bad. And the question is, does the vaccine that's going out now work against it? The story I read said no, but it's also like...
Well, I mean, there's a lot that's still not entirely sure about the vaccine, though, either. Like, are you going to have to get a booster on this at some point? Like, are you just done? Like, as soon as you know, or hypothetically, if enough of the world got vaccinated, you would think that it wouldn't be able to continue to transmit, but measles continued on for years and years and years after.
Yep.
And then it started to come back, I think.
And it started coming back because...
Or mumps. Which one was the...
I mean, but measles has made the strongest comeback, but it's because people who got the MMR then grew up to be people who didn't believe in the MMR and didn't give it to their kids, which is not going to take a whole generation. It's going to be people who are like, no, my mom didn't give it to me when I was a kid, and so that was 10 years ago. I don't believe in it. I'm not going to give it to my kids. Yeah. And within 15 years. But also, they keep in mind, this novel coronavirus 2019 is a variation on a coronavirus. There will be others. There will be other things. Life will be different forever from now on.
Oh, and it'll eventually the virus that is quick moving and more deadly there's going to be something about a virus that happens like this in the future that will work against us and our ability to plan for it.
Yes.
And I mean, like, you know, we've been haven't been lucky with COVID-19 for sure. We were more lucky with like Ebola and SARS and stuff like that, where you were able to sort of get on top of it before it spread drastically.
We may count ourselves lucky, though. When we're digging holes and tossing bodies and bags into holes, we might be like, oh, God, I wish this was like coronavirus and I just had to be locked inside for months. Because the same dumb people who won't stay inside now because they get bored with quarantine.
Yeah.
I want it to happen soon enough that these people get punished for this. Because now they're making my life difficult. I want the deadly virus to come so that they go out and party and then, die. And then I, one of the safe people, can, at some point later, when your body is no longer contagious, toss it into a big open pit and burn it. And then enjoy the fruits of an empty civilization.
Well, if you are bored in quarantine and you're looking for something to do, you know where you can go and pass the time?
Where's that?
OTheAnthem.com, core to theanthem.com, O The Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line, 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595. Find more of me at my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, at LegendsCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I had recorded a review for Mank, and oh boy, was it bad. So a re-record of that will happen, as well as some other things that I'm working on. So it's a process. It happens. But I had a lot of work too. I got a lot of post work here recently.
That's good.
So none of which pays handsomely, but it buys lunch.
A yob is a yob. And, of course, you can find me on all your social networks at Robert N. Cheek. Well, you can find my accounts, but not me, because I'm not going to be there for the next 19 days. 19 more days of my sabbatical, which is good. I've lost track of my phone. Still answering messages in the middle of the night when my friends send me messages. Not like I go absent in the middle of the day, just for no reason. But you can find me at Robert and Cheek. You can find more information at robertandcheek.com, where I have links to everything, books on Amazon and all the projects and everything that I'm doing.
Badass books.
Oh, thank you, sir. And, of course, a big thank you to producer Roberto for finally sending me a text back and also joining us to be a producer on the show. You can find him at RTOAZN on all your social networks, including TikTok. Probably a waste of time because he doesn't post anything, but that's where you can find his stuff if you are so inclined.
Hypothetically,
yeah. And there'll be a new reel up on his YouTube channel at some point.
It's a lot of work getting done over here.
A whole lot of work getting done. Promises made, promises kept.
Well, I think we've done good here today.
I'm glad he's back because now I have an audience of one to play to. So we've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the O The Anthem podcast, part of the O The Anthem digital network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
So the second half of the show was actually going out to the internet, correct?
Yeah, can you guys hear me? Could you guys hear me the entire time? Or,
hello. Is there anybody
shouting
out
into
there?
the void?